All right, he's investigating. Okay, so we got some release from China, and well, we got the goods in here. This is 10 months of trying to get a particular thing done is actually in the box. So we're gonna have to locate it. Lace is gonna go through it. He's trying to inspect it. You inspecting anything in there? All right, guys, so here we go. In this video, and I'm going to try and briefing this up. I just recorded a long thing, and it was 20 minutes long. You don't want to listen to that. I'm going to try and show you the process of the round lights. Let me try and go quickly. Obviously, when you ship 1,500 or 1,700 products, all manufactured here, we've had some failures, isolated, haven't been widespread. I've always addressed it, talked to people, tried to figure out, is it shipping that's causing it? Is it handling on their end, the installer side? I think it's a combination of a lot of things. Inevitably, the success of the product since the beginning, since I started shipping them, has been very good. I think overall the experiences have been very good, but you know, things happen. And so I always wanted to improve. And in the background, I'm always subtly improving and changing things that you guys are never aware of. And whether it's just a little bit of friction and fitment, maybe it's something that I just tweak a little bit. It's just maybe to make production easier, maybe to make our process easier. Just small, subtle improvements that have happened. And like I said, I think I'm on version 144, last my memory serves, of this bracket. In some phase, I've made a fundamental change that has caused the reprogramming of the machines. And I've done that 144 times in 18 months. So obviously, I didn't tell you guys about all of those. I've told you about 3 of them. So when I released the round lights, I expected them to just fit on the car because I had initially designed the squares with the rounds in mind, and I knew the diameter of those. I didn't tell anybody that, but I did know the diameter of those. So it's some phase of process. I don't know how that bracket system got moved up to where after I released the pre-buy of the rounds, I put the test kit in about mid-September, and it did not fit. It contacted the headlight lid, and it surprised me. I didn't think it was, I was like, how is this possible? You know what I mean? I had planned for this. I had tested them before. I don't know, and I still to this day don't know. So all I knew at that point was, okay, well, I have to make a change. I have to drop the system down a little bit to make them fit. And that's not a big deal. So I thought, you know, I'll just make the mounts a little bit different. But then I thought, well, here's an opportunity for me to really fundamentally improve the outer mount system to where I did have some isolated failures. And wanting to learn and understand, how can I eliminate this? How can I make these profoundly more strong than they need to be in case I ever go with a heavier light or whatnot? I decided I'm just going to go ahead and take this opportunity before I push the rounds out to redesign the entire outer mount system on the brackets. I have tested these extensively in the past. We were having people that were breaking the sides off, and in some cases I had a customer that broke both sides equally. You know, they would say, maybe it's my suspension, maybe it's the roads. Quite honestly, what I truly think has led to some of these failures is that some people's mechanisms, these flip-up headlights are not the greatest design. GM was very efficient in keeping things light and simple, but when these components wear, when the gears wear, when the bushing inside the gears wear, when the adjusters that adjust your left and right and up and down wear, you get shake and you're getting a lot of fatigue in this system. So when you combine that with aggressive suspension and bad roads in the Northeast, I think what's happening is these things were just getting shaken to death, and it was causing some type of fatigue failures, or people were imparting stresses on these things in the install phase, which started maybe a fracture that was small that propagated through the shaking. Either way, I thought, you know what I need to do is, even though I had progressively made these brackets stronger, I'd increased the wall thickness substantially since May of 2022. All the brackets that have gone out, there has not been one failure in the sense of that ear breaking off. But what started to happen with those was in the summertime, we were getting some type of expansion that they were sliding a little bit for a few people. So again, it was not widespread, but it was a few people that were experiencing it, communicating it to me, and then that information I use. So I decided with the rounds, I'm just going to redesign the entire outer system, and I'm going to make it for the squares and the rounds. So essentially I embarked on this process of redesigning all these, and literally through the month of October, between moving the business, trying to reorganize, my brother leaving, new employees coming in, my mom selling her house in Louisiana, moving here in the RV outside. It just was too many things. SEMA was coming, and I was just working all I could to get the kits out that I had on order to you guys. So that being said, I racked my brain and I designed this thing over and over and over and over again, trying to get something that I thought was strong enough that the machines would like to make, that eliminates excess support so the production can use it and build it easily. And it's something that the machines like to make, because at the end of the day, the machines have to be happy making this. I had to get to that point. It took me literally 4 or 5 weeks of just like constant over and over and over again, to the point that I had a breakthrough right around SEMA. I come up with this gusseted design that now additionally, the kit is now made of more pieces, but there's now a gusset system, which I will show you in this video. And it has made the strengths of this process. It's putting the weaknesses, it's like wood, how wood has grain and wood can split in certain areas. You want to build with those weaknesses in mind. In 3D printing, every process has compromises. With 3D printing, that's the compromise. I have put that weakness into an angle that there are no forces. So all the forces are acting against the grain, the way that I've designed this. And in addition, there's no support. Everything builds upwards. There's nothing overhanging, so I don't have these supports. Everything's building this way, so the machine builds upwards. It doesn't have any supports. It's easier for production. I hope I was able to do the 6 minutes and 30 seconds. I'm sorry. Let's get to it. I'm going to try and take you through the process to kind of just show you where I'm at. This video will conclude with they do fit. It is done. I have to tweak a few small things here over Thanksgiving, but they're going to start being built next week, and then we're going to resume full production. Thank God. People want to know what you're doing.
Oh. Battery. I built this box.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of organizing all the wires at this point.
All right. Yeah, so he is getting ready to leave. So these are some of the things that just been slowing me down a little bit. If you guys know, when you have a lot of things happening at your house, you work to not allow it to let it take focus. So now we've got a problem. Why she laughs at me? This is why I can't do this as a job. If you're gonna laugh at me when I have a camera.
I am not laughing at you.
That's just some stuff to take up the room.
For those.
Oh, these are it. I don't know why they put this on here like this, but as you can see, you're going to see the difference is each light, if you're familiar with these lights at all, usually has just one plug, and now we have two. We're isolating different circuits, and one is going to a controller, and one is going to essentially a source of power for like a headlight control. But basically the way these are wired at the moment, again, a miscommunication, which happens all the time. These are all going to light up as low beams, so small issue, no big deal, and I could probably chop through this. This is just the process, unfortunately, when you're working with a company overseas and I'm directing them and they're kind of responding to what I asked for. But yeah, I will get these together, maybe in this video, maybe in the next, but been waiting a long time. This was hard to accomplish because of the small size of the diffuser here. This was very hard to get done. Took a long time, and hopefully it's good. Not exactly what they said they were going to send. These are the delays that, you know what I mean, as much as I communicate with these people, tell them what I need, pay them, getting some of these companies to keep their word it's very difficult. The issue with these lights when they come from the supplier, these are some old ones, these aren't current versions, but it's the positioning of this hole. The positioning of this hole, I'm trying to block myself, tends to be kind of random, and this causes issues when it comes to when it comes to mounting these, so basically because this is the mount system, you'll see people that a few people have knocked off my kit in some ways. They use the little U brackets and everything moves around. So you got like 6 different lights doing 6 different things. And so when I designed this, I knew I needed something that accurately located and created a unit. And so that's where the idea for the bracket came from, is this is taking place of your OEM bucket light. And then everything in terms of aiming is controlled by the pockets. And so the high beam and the low beam pockets, they're positioned in CAD. So the key is to accurately locate this in this pocket. So that's where these pod interfaces come into play. So the issue that I've fought for quite some time is the inconsistency of the drilling of the castings. This is a cast part, and then they drill these, and it's clear that they don't have a fixture. And I've talked to them many times about, like, I need you to put this in a fixture and exactly have this hole every single time. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. And when we're trying to make them consistently every week, sometimes we'll have good ones and bad ones. And being that I order these lights as wired sets. So I order 40 sets of lights at a time as a grouped package, and that's to limit my risk through customs and limit my risk shipping overseas, because as some of you know, the U.S. government sometimes just decides to grab your stuff and say, hey, we think you shouldn't have this. So I've learned that the hard way once already, so it makes me not confident in shipping more. So it's something that contributes to supply chain in a negative way. And so what I'm doing here now, the unique part about the rounds versus the squares that I ran into is because the rounds are a bit larger, it created some interference when I exactly centered them. So the 2 outer ones had to move sideways, this way and this way, so that the center one can fit. So what that creates is a need for individually unique pods in production. So basically the stage that I got to, I got these fitting pretty well, but they were causing some interference with the headlight cover. So what that requires, and I did not know initially, is it requires these outer mounts to allow this system to drop down. And what that's going to do, and what I've tested and learned, is if I do that, I'm giving this kind of area which is taking a lot of the load, it's giving it more of an advantage to try and brake. So that is leading me to have to redesign the entire side. When I do that redesign, it's going to add material, it's going to add production time, it's going to add cost, it's going to add a lot of things. So I'm trying to balance all that, and obviously I'm going to have to make this area of the bracket in this area more robust even than I have already. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to strip these down. We're going to try and do a test fit, see what I have to tweak, because first and foremost I need these to be very tight, and I'm making changes also always to make production easier. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we got these wired. As you can see, fits well, very stable, not moving, very good. So we have good fitting pods as it pertains to these 3 lights. So the issue that we sometimes run into is the inconsistency between lights. So that is something that I'm always looking at, trying to figure out. Obviously clearances between here, very critical, very tight. Everything just fits. I don't know if you could see, but I mean, you've got very, very little space in between there. Everything is exactly where it needs to be. Now, where I ran into the next issue, now that we have the pods finished and seemingly fitting well, the next issue was this top left corner. This is the outside of the car. Right here is hitting the headlight cover. So the next phase is to go into CAD, and unfortunately, as much as you don't want to change everything, yes, I have to change everything here on this. So this is, as I was describing, will lead to the version 3 system. And it's for the best. As much as I have talked about wanting modularity, and I want to be able to go from these lights here to these lights here in the same bracket. The goal is for you to own these and say, hey, I want to change. You know, I've had these for 2 years. Maybe I want to go to these. and keep your brackets and do things like this. It was an eager goal in the beginning. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to implement it to the earliest forms of brackets. And as we can see here, there's going to be a change yet again. So, it was objectives and goals that I had. It will eventually, obviously, the entire system will be balanced. I'll always give, incentives and always, if I have to send brackets, I have to send brackets. I want everybody to enjoy the original intent of what I was trying to do here, which leads me to these. So that is lights only. That is center lights only. So what do we have here is the next question. So what we have here is we have a sequence. And I'm trying to see if we're gonna, what this controller, so we're working with the programming of the controller. Each time power is applied, it's going to change exactly what you get. And I'm trying to see how much we have here. And what we have here. So I don't know if you're like, well, that's not very impressive. Well, that has been very complicated solely because instead of one centralized lighting unit that's all tied together and wired together, the challenge that we have here is we have so many individual lights. And if I have somebody who has one light go out, obviously if this were a connected system, if you bought a set of headlights and it had boards all through it, if you had one LED go out, you're talking about a replacement of the entire thing. Those who know me know I want to make this, this has to be replaceable. If you have one light go out, obviously it cannot lead to replacing all these LED boards. So anytime you see people making these real crazy tail lights and with all these effects in them and all that stuff, it's nice to look at in the immediate sense. But when you start to think of it from a production perspective and a replacement perspective, this is where it gets very not only costly and time consuming, but there's a labor aspect. If you have a big headlight system all wired in and one little thing goes wrong and you have to take that whole thing out, it's very complicated. At least with this system, you know what I mean? You're talking about you'd pop this light out of this pod, you'd unscrew two little connectors. It would feel very much like a traditional light bulb system in a car. Your bulb would burn out, you'd unplug it, and you'd plug in a new one. So this is something that no one has done, and there's nothing in the market that approaches this type of modularity. And so that's why I have pushed them when it comes to the boards and the wiring to rework the inside of this light. So this is something proprietary only to what I'm doing. This is only for me. These aren't available, and so it's me pushing forward, trying to give people options. Now, the limitations here is because they're wired all modularly like that, it has to be a simple signal system. So this is something we're continually working on. So I'm thinking there may be a Gen 1 system and a Gen 2 system. That may be how it has to be. But like I said, if you have the brackets, if you have the stops, if you have all the components, then it just becomes a lighting upgrade. So, it's kind of like changing bands on your watch or cell phone cases, you know what I mean? It's like you're still paying some money, but you're not absorbing the entire cost of a new kit. So for now, I want you to see that these are here in hand. I do have RGB options. Obviously, these options are going to extend to every light like this, including the rounds in the future. Now, the rounds are going to be a ways out because those are different boards. This took 10 months. That won't take as long, but we have to make some decisions about these RGBs in the future. So in my thinking, the way that this is going to work is obviously when you initially start the car and initially power them, I want them to default to yellow because that's going to be the most universally accepted and legal option. And then from there you can cycle through the lights, and I'm going to design that cycle. That where the limitation comes in is cell phone control and specific like a remote or something like that, because like I said, I would have to make the whole system tied together. So if you ever had a burnout, it would not only be a substantial replacement cost, it's going to rapidly inflate the cost of the kit. For me to be able to deliver this in a modular sense, replaceable, and do the things that you want to do in a parking lot, sitting at a car meet, maybe you have a drift car, you want to put it on the strobe mode, things like that, which was very popular in the D1 Grand Prix. When it first came to this country, there were tons of strobes. When, you know, back in the day, before every 240 had an LS in it, it used to actually have a, you know, an SR20 in it or something, or maybe even an RB like 25. Yeah, the old days, you know, before 1,000 horsepower supercharged LS with nitrous. So, you know, they actually had strobes and things going on like the mid 2000s, early 2000s. So this wiring is all just kind of test. This isn't real, but we're close. We're close on these. I'm pushing as best I can, but I want it to be right. And I want it to, you know, I want it to be cool. I want it to be something I would run. I'm not huge in RGB and lighting effects, but, you know, I could see, you know, a particular occasion. Maybe I'd want to roll up somewhere and, you know, throw on little lights. If I can have a red and blue strobe, you definitely don't want to do that on the street. But if you know, you roll up to the car meet and you got little police lights or something, a lot of people like that kind of stuff. So, but we're going to have options. There will always be just kind of a base option. And then if you want to go into colors, that's what I'm trying to do, guys. A lot more with these lights to finalize 2022. Then we'll go into 2023 with carbon and with wide body stuff. As much as I wanted to do it this year, it's going to happen next year. So let's get into CAD. Let's go ahead and start working. Let's start working on these outer mounts. I ain't really looking forward to it, but I have to do it, and that's the only way you guys are going to get your rounds. Before I do that, let me tell you, if you have round lights waiting, the first people to get your rounds on and get some pictures, we're going to do a 2023 KnightDriveTV calendar, a bunch of Corvettes, great pictures, stuff like that. You know, calendars, look, some of you guys work in offices, some of you guys are professionals and stuff like that. You know, a calendar still works. It's one of the few things analog that I feel like is still very useful to people. Put it in a kitchen, you know, quick reference. So it'd be cool. And I still think calendars have a little bit of relevance in our world. So we're going to do that stuff and keep on pushing. So let's jump in CAD and work on the outer mounts. So there it is, the 4-cam V8. Oh man, I love that motor, right? I mean, who doesn't love that thing? It's just so symmetrical, looks so good. I have so many plans for this. I just have to start getting projects moving. And so that's what this garage is all about. So we're gonna get this back on the ground, get it out of the way for now. And I got a good video coming for ZR1, coming for C4. So if any of you guys are C4 fans, you know C4 people, share the channel. Please sub. We got a lot coming. These cars are just on the rise, man. Obviously, though, this is what we're here for. We got to get this thing moved so I can get these into the Z06. So here is the part of the video where I realized I didn't really screen capture the process and the evolution in a chronological order that's great, but I did realize that I wanted to create this gusset piece with an interlocking style, much like the modular pieces are in between each other. But I knew that that gusset, if it could lock in, would you know, allow me some flexibility to make that part separately. And so that evolved. And in addition, I realized, well, if I'm going to do that, I want to eliminate any of the sliding with a piece of hardware that actually goes through and puts that gusset in kind of compression between the outer mount and that outermost bucket. So that system is fully locked together. As you can see, I evolved the interlocking design, everything fit, and I was just really thrilled. And at this point, it came down to just adjusting the clearances and the heights. Adding a little light. So printing outcome looks good from here. I don't see any issues at all. And as you can see, the print orientation, the gusset piece, which let me see if I can sit this light here. This is the gusset piece. This obviously has printed from the bottom up, and so that's going to give it a lot of strength across all of the interfaces. So as long as everything printed cleanly, sit down here. I guess I'm just working in my house because why not? You know what I mean? So, yep, let's, oh, she's on there. So you can see we just kind of pull that brim support off of there. All right, so first assembly, and what we want it to do, It's just snapped right together. I can tell you for a very first time fit, that is that's exciting. I will tell you that right now, because that is that's tough. But we've got kind of the secret. If you've seen, I have the bolt that goes through, and so it's going to be key that this seat's all the way down in order for that bolt, that screw rather, to go through and seat to the nut. That's going to be the tough part. So I kind of have to pull this back together. Well, let's go ahead and just kind of check the edge. Oh man, that just goes together wonderfully too. So, oh man. Oh, that's good. I can immediately tell we just have a lot more just rigidity, because this is the mount. I'm trying to see, this is the mount. Lights come this way, and people were managing to sometimes break this area, so this is much more robust. But I mean, what I really wanted was the ability to, you know, just take this. So obviously we're gonna have two more modules, lights sticking out here. I want to be able to crank on this thing so freaking hard that nobody can ever. But I want you to wreck the car. I don't want you to wreck your car, but I want you to wreck the car and not break these. I mean, this just slid in so perfectly well. So I'm very excited about that. The hole is, I mean, it's centered. We're screwing in very well. So kind of a test here. Very good. Oh, we're screwing in through that piece, so this is going to be strong. This is going to be the outcome that I needed to really close up any remaining questions as to how these will act long term. And oh man, it just, we're going to run into the one problem. The head may not go into here. I may have to tweak the clearance. This might be the one end issue, but let me see if I can screw it in. The only question is, are we going to get all the way to the screw? I feel some torque. I think we've got it. I'm going to have to use a smaller screwdriver. Oh no, I feel good torque there. So this is successful. I wanted to be able to lock this to where this cannot come apart under any circumstances. The old dovetails, we did see a small percentage of people that were sliding forward in this direction. They were coming because the lights would stow kind of here. We would get some slide. That's just absolutely impossible to happen now. Well, obviously, while we are getting things ready, I'm going to be cooking some red beans. And that's red beans and rice, a little New Orleans flavor, but you know, I'm doing a little different. I'm lighting the fire just to get my vegetables cooked down a little bit. That's the Trinity, you know what I mean? They talk about that in Louisiana. It is onions, bell pepper, and celery. And you throw in some garlic and things, but I got some andouille sausage and smoked sausage, got a ham hock, and basically just letting this flame off. Then we're going to close it up, get some good smoke flavor in it. I'm going to add my beans, my stock, everything into the pot, and we're going to cook it on the grill. And I've never cooked red beans on the grill, so I'm pumped up. Right away, we've got a bit of a problem. I was actually working on this. This is on the outside of the car. Mounts on this side, so that's where your large double mount. That's where this mount actually attaches. I widened it to give it more of an attachment to basically the gusset. So I ended up widening it quite a bit, and I swore that wouldn't penalize me because this side I widened, it does not. But this has a recessed lip, so as you can see, it needs to it limits the width for the two mounting holes. So this part here is going to be too wide, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of a modification there towards the inside. This side I think will be fine, but we've got to make some changes. So we're not there yet. Unfortunately, we're not there. I'm close, but not there. So what you're seeing here is very indicative of the process. I'm adding that hole. For some reason, it was mostly through, but it didn't penetrate the front side Here I'm adding some offset and just a little bit more clearance to allow these parts to kind of interface together, and I'm addressing some support areas here. Less overhangs equals less support, so I'm kind of trimming things off, and this is the process of going back and forth over and over until you have something that works. Luckily we have this side working good. The side went so smoothly. For some reason it's the other side that's just become very difficult. It's a little bit more compacted in terms of the area that I have to work with, so that's kind of part of it. There we go, slides together nicely. That's good. Yeah, so as you can see, let me block my face, though I'm trying to see the screen. So as you can see, that screw, it has to be below the surface, but it has to clear, and it's very close. I don't have much to work with, so we're right on the limits there, but that fits, and so it's going to have to mount into the car with clearance, so we're going to have to check into that. So let's go with the next side and allow me not to mix up my pieces here. Oh boy. Immediately I'm sensing it's not quite sliding as easily as I'd like. Nope. And what's strange is the clearance that will work on a piece of this density here will not work on a piece of this density here. It just depends and how the part is built, and it's kind of unpredictable in the percentages, and so it's, you know, what works on one won't work on another. So it's literally each part and component you're dealing with. You can't just across the board say I'm going to take 1/10 of a millimeter out, or a 1/3 of a millimeter or anything. You have to literally dial them all, and even then the machines will have variation. So you kind of have to find a middle ground to where across 30 machines that all have slight variations in how they work, that everything's going to be in the zone that kind of goes together consistently. And that's frankly been very, very hard to achieve many times. And so in this case, I actually added some clearance, but I may not have added the clearance in the exact location. I added in some other locations to where I felt like they might have been the culprit, suspecting that I may have cleared out the right areas already, but that's not the case. So back to the board, but hopefully I can do a big print today, and that wraps it up by tonight. I say this every day to myself, and people say, man, the timeline keeps extending, but it's extending in my mind. Every day I'm like, this has got to be it. This has got to be it. And so in this one, I'm seeing some separation here, and so it is having contact, and it's pushing this mount outward. I kind of think I see where it is, so we will make an adjustment there. Yeah, it's definitely jutting out at this location here. Okay, well, I think I see the problem on this one, and that was an area that I didn't suspect we'd have an issue. So that is one thing. Let's see if we can get this side to go together. That fit fantastic. That's a huge improvement. So there we go. You know, we get one piece, it's down, and the problem was located there. That just slid together beautifully, so that's right in place. Now I just have to make some adjustments. to this surface to kind of clean this up. But that actually slid together exactly like I would want. It was perfect friction, just a little bit. Slid right into place. Now we have to get the nut down in here, get the screw, and see at least if we have a prototype, obviously, that we can get on the car and just validate the positioning. Because again, I don't even have that 100% that the positioning here is going to be enough. I think it is, but again, until you make it, you don't know. And so it's like, I'm like, okay, well, I move it down this much. Well, now I have to design it all, get kind of the friction down just enough to assemble it in a reasonable sense, so that it's accurate. So it's not even me tweaking first without validating the fitment. It's like literally I have to get the piece built to a point to where I feel like the mounting positions are reflected accurately. So let's get the screw in there and hope it goes together. Okay, so yeah, it's assembled. Our screw is recessed. We have both outer locks working. It's only this piece, this intermediate piece right here on the angle, that I have to make some mild changes to. I have to figure out kind of what to do back here. I have a fix for this. I already know what I'm going to do here. Here, I'm not quite so certain on how to get this cleaner. This is something I'm going to have to think about, but we're going to have to see if it fits. But this is the first truly completed, fully redesigned prototype that I feel like is going to accurately reflect what production will be close to. This will hopefully fit on the car. Everything is screwed and locked. Everything is in place. Let's get it on the car. Obviously, I've been happy a couple times prior, and I get another disappointment. So I'm very hopeful that this fits. If it does, I can do some kind of final tweaking and really start to hone in on that last little bit, which is just the aesthetics and the print quality and things like that. I have a few areas I'm not happy with, but this is enough to go put on the car, make sure the lights clear, everything. These new uprights, the lights can't hit them. We've got a lot of possibilities here of upsetting my Thanksgiving. So let's go over to the garage and see what happens. Okay, so step one is with it firmly planted. I have a lot of excess. I can actually trim that back. That's going to help a lot of the kind of trashiness that you see right there. I'm going to be able to pull that back so that screw is a little bit more recessed. We definitely have enough. Yeah, I have more than enough there, and I went a little extra to be sure. So on that note, yes, there it is. The headlight cover is down. It actually fits. I don't know if I like the rounds or the squares. You may have to decide, but they are there. They're done. It's now the beautification process that has to happen just to a little bit of the pieces, but I just tried to show you guys the process. Well, like that, it's Thanksgiving, and so the brackets, lace.
It's been an ordeal.
Yeah. Late nights.
Many late nights.
Yeah.
Like, not like midnight, like more like 2, 3, and 4 a.m. late nights.
Right. You know, it's just, it's for some people who are engineers, it's like a go or no-go gauge. Go or no-go gauges have this range, and everything has to fall in that range. And finding that range when things shrink and move, ABS is a different animal than PLA and even ASA. But ABS tested the best. It's more reflective of what's under the hood of a Corvette. So for longevity, I have to use ABS. So ABS is very finicky.
It is finicky, but it's going to be well worth the wait.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's Thanksgiving, and so the point of this is they're done. I have to do. Obviously, the only tweaks left are just beautification. There's a couple spots that I have to kind of make a little bit cleaner, but that's pretty easy. The overall fitment is there.
Finally. It's been a long time coming.
And so I'm ready for a rest. I'll tell you, I just want to get Kelsey making them because Kelsey is here. She's been here for a couple weeks.
Do they know about Kelsey?
I mean, not yet. You have to make sure certain people work out. She seems pretty good. She's going to be building these lights. She's already built a lot, and she picked it up very easily, and she's doing some other video things. So that's it. It's Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
I'm going to show you the turkeys. You want to see the turkeys? Should I show them the turkeys?
Show them the turkeys.
I'm competing against myself with a traditional Weber.
So I need to...
And then the old school Georgia grill that Josh dragged out of the dumpster somewhere.
Should we peek?
Hold on. We did get a heat up a little bit. This one's a little bit behind. This one's all hickory. This one's apple and cherry. I'm not sure how that's going to turn out, but yeah. So.
Oh my gosh! Look at it already.
Yeah.
Wow. That's fast.
Yeah. These turkeys come out fantastic. It's just hard to control the temperature. And
this is exciting.
She's juicy, but this one's a little behind. And so this one's a little tougher.
And how do we end up with 2 turkeys, you may ask?
Yeah.
Well, the Weber's fairly new, and we bought a turkey to test it out before Thanksgiving. And
had no time.
We had no time.
Because I'm making brackets and testing on cars and things like that.
So we couldn't let the turkeys go to waste. So
yeah,
2 turkeys it is.
2 turkeys it is. So with that said, guys, happy Thanksgiving from KnightDriveTV, Damien and Lace. Appreciate you watching this video. If you saw it, Black Friday, we'll see. I'm going to try to do what I can do.
Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday is kind of where my mind's looking, but I'm going to try and put some things on the website. So if you're interested in any lights from KnightDriveTV and you've watched this freaking video, give me a thumbs up. I don't know. But that's it, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. See you later.